We're gonna have to do a thing where we test out sound in in-person debates since this is so. You look very happy. Oh.
I already said yes. How do you want to set up for this paper shit?
However you want it set up, I'll try to comment.
Can you flip left?
What do you mean flip left? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And then after you're done,
Yeah, I appreciate it. Is it already set up? Yeah, got it. I do.
Nothing's been sent yet.
Okay. Here's one right here. Here. I'm can't do it. Yes. Oh. Can you? Or is that too hard?
Can I what? Sorry.
Like flip onto the chairs?
Yeah. Do you want me to like hold it up and show you to grab it?
oh my god.
I thought that computer was gone.
No. That thing's unstructured.
Right?
I'm setting up a third table for the cake so that Jim doesn't have to crouch down.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Gotcha. Honestly, I can hold it if you want, but if
Just in case I'm like staring at another page and you need to get
Oh,
into something,
gotcha.
I just want to have that myself.
So you won't read the part?
Yeah.
Right. And if you need me to be loud, just obviously shout loud.
I doubt that's
Yeah, I've never had someone tell me I wasn't loud, but who knows? It might be. You three good? Emory, you all good?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
If it is what is warships, diffusion over legal status of autonomous vessels as warship beneath international precipitates conflict, only the U.S. must clarify their position to ensure safe, predictable naval operations. We can attend the others. The Quality ship, the secondary questions of warship that access to belligerent rights of fruits and explosives. Warships must have a crew and accommodate the British sports for more flexible interpretation. The evolutionary interpretation of the treaty should be preferred outside the treaties where the individual practice and abiding jurors should provide the basic rights of UMB's rights have not been clarified. This creates a legal risk for conflict where states have been different visa categorization clarified. Recognize UMB's same within existing regulations. The best way to ensure that there's safe and predictable operations on the ocean. The best way to reduce future conflict is for U.S. to make their legal position clear and ambiguous legal status inhibits naval operation of uncrewed vessels. Specifically, the lack of warship status eliminates sovereign immunity, subjecting ships to unpredictable seizure. Robert 20, U.S. Navy's U.S. seizure proliferation, highlighting and being employed the recent accident and highlight the ambiguous legal environment adversaries exploit and graze sensibility is at the forefront of unmanned systems and pressure for the systems is intense. The Navy must also protect the U.S. safety constraint that interference by graze actions legally regulate will constrain employment. The result will be a counter-revolution. Seizures by China and Iran showcase employment adversaries are claiming questionable justifications as ascertain seaworthiness. Fifthly, rapidly integrated artificial intelligence with maritime operations there. Flexibility to achieve U.S. employment demands on where the Navy leader can manage risks with protecting U.S. seas. The goal is in jeopardy unless the Navy can come to terms with how to protect ships. Important issues remain unsettled as a matter of international arrangement status for the U.S. seas. Key claims sovereign immunity as warship is also a legal gray area. This leaves the door open for coastal nations to argue that they should have the right to seize and inspect unmanned vehicles, and that risk catastrophic miscalculation with China Arctic 19 autonomous craft making very tempting targets and increased miscalculation for high seas unmanned systems lower the pressure for military action and serious implications for all regions. Not at least the SES when the USS confronted China and Russia, the autonomous system trolling commanders feel informed to strike platforms expecting lower repercussions. China and Russian navies have trained themselves to be bolder than ever. The Chinese military will find plentiful opportunities to intercept American systems. It is only a matter of time before vessels are deployed. Chinese Navy may find unmanned vessels too tantalizing to pass up, especially Washington seeks to report permissiveness or timidity in an incident could trigger an escalation and spark next nuclear conflict. Nuclear war, Thomas Stephanie. The U.S.-China war could escalate a nuclear conflict. Combination war can unpredictable U.S. and China. This conflict may lead to unanticipated nuclear cash for U.S. and China, or overconfident which exacerbates risk because of co-mingling and conventional nuclear weapons. The military might attack China's weapons and really use it to lose their pressure for decision aspect. China might fear would lose its nuclear deterrent and autonomous vessels supply global deterrence of illicit maritime drug activity. Coito 21, the counter-drug missions predicted on the MDA, the greatest barrier. MDA's journey of distance of trains to unenforced and close activity that leveraging autonomous technology is important for MDA. The clearly marked autonomous warships and inherent deterrent illicit activity, the ability to discourage activity succinctly. They will be on the enforcement presence and given area of the greatest presence of this activity to deter traditional warships that presently can be true and kitted and terminated autonomous vessels. So the operational gap that make greater deterrence yield with persistent presence. Vessels offer enhanced detection and monitoring, sensor suits and available locating, tracking, drug trafficking, surveillance, intelligence, reconnaissance, and more difficult to avoid law enforcement itself as a powerful indication tool. Vessels offer a vast cost saving and realize reduced operating costs, direct sustainability. It's particularly true in the counter drug context. Maritime drug trafficking subsidizes and facilitates terrorism and WMD, while enhancing counter drug technology to deter Romero 16. Vessels drug traffickers continue to use this in narcos. Sub-vessels are in operation throughout South and Central America. The trafficking has been linked with terrorism, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, Hezbollah, all involved in drug activities networks. Facilitating movement of weapons of mass destruction as well as high-value targets in the West. Criminal cooperation can lead great damage by submarines and carrying weapons of mass destruction. Biological warfare and chemical weapons organizations have used illicit marketplace and package activities to employ submarines and vessels of mass destruction. Terrorists could easily collaborate with Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, to equip narco submarines and technical features. It's a launch destructive attacks on U.S. targets. Advances in narco technology present challenges to law enforcement who counter innovative technologies. Law enforcement is to invest in upgrading their own test technologies, nuclear cause extinction, and it's possible with Haze 18. Nuclear terrorism might lead to inadvertent nuclear war, including alluded to warning to wars full of trip to accidental detonation, miscalculated misrepresented choices to seek revenge and the recent generation. A combination of all about nuclear terrorism could precipitate a massive exchange of nukes between states. Actors exhibit the innovation capacity of nuclearly armed and non-state actors already conducted such engineered projects, although the requirements present such a high bar, they're certainly reachable. Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State have actually attempted to obtain nuclear skills and materials. A diverse set of innovative, motivated terrorist groups exist, including apocalyptic entities. The conditions that generate such entities are likely to persist and expand to bioweapons. Bill 70, such risks jeopardize the existence of all future human lives. The disease events are responsible for the greatest death on humanity. The future pandemic presents outright extinction for irreversible collapses of civilization. Diseases are proof of principle, and each worst case outcome can be realized independently. Some exhibit 100% case of fatality. Other diseases such as chickenpox and HSV1 can successfully reach 95% of population. Advances allow the creation of diseases that combine such traits. 100% face fatality render a vaccine ineffective. Non-state actors post risk, especially with excessive on-societal aim. Biotech becomes more accessible, and full of experienced users grow inside you. Also invest in preventing most extreme possible biosecurity catastrophes. Advantage to his mind. Resolving unclear vessels' ambiguous legal status is critical for deployment, determining operations of mines. Quota 21. The use of mass and increased activities increase in time where there will be repercussions for legal mass activities such as mine detection. The appeal is clear. Longer periods expand areas of operation capacity, have to reduce costs. Advantageous to state this discussion about status of MAVs' worship immunities. Commentators have convinced whether they enjoy the innocent passages or pertinent to the deployment of MAVs and autonomous vessels are key. The operational advantages for mine countermeasures are unprecedented. Article 23. All my vehicles are saying ages and military gains are astronomical. They do not have UMVs do not have personnel offering force the ability of presence of hostile waters, not making risky human life. UMVs spread access to seas. They're too hazardous. One of the most cited missions are used to be mine countermeasures, mine detection, and handling risky operations for military personnel. UMVs are well suited for the dangerous aspect of mine countermeasures and to help UMVs withstanding harshness of unforeseen environment in the ocean. Provide greater, more persistent coverage to react to the process data faster, increasing operational tempo. UMVs are superior technology. A lot of military can get far more intelligence. Have better situational awareness intelligence. Have an overwhelming military advantage. UMVs are cost effective. And U.S. naval operations is determined is key to prevent Iran's potential closure of the state of Hormuz. Rally 20. The U.S. and Iran have been on a collision course that could well lead to military confrontation. The first move wrongly could be mined the Strait of Hormuz to prevent Allied forces from surging in the Gulf. The ones that represent the most vexing military challenges there are hard to find, neutralize, and present deadly housing for any vessel. Should Iran choose to employ its mine inventory and threaten the commerce it has, assets if Iran has to show sea mines in the Strait of Hormuz until the U.S. Navy to be clear of the deadly mines, and the Navy's ill-prepared. No alt causes. Call 20. Iran has used as around a mine to extract concessions, forcing closure. It would be easier than drinking a glass of water. The Strait is a strategic waterway. International dependence makes Iran's threat serious. Iran has become more aggressive in the Persian Gulf. Iran leadership wants the U.S. to recognize the ability to disrupt the global supply of oil. Naval capability to last luster. The regime depends on mines and their destructive impacts to exert power over the Persian waters, and the risk is increasing. Laboratory. Amid rising tensions between Iran and European U.S. government officials who pretended to block the Strait of Hormuz, Congress is similar threats, but this time Parliament entered, saying that legislation preparing a resolution to block countries that waterways crucial to global energy supplies. We will limit commercial ships in the Strait. We will take measures by blocking the ship's passage that practically blocks transit. Strait of Hormuz enclosure costs U.S. around more. Goes to nuclear outright 2019. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran's flying for military confrontation that carries a real possibility the U.S. is using nuclear weapons and the heightened possibility of nuclear strike, especially in U.S.-Iran showdown, which will transit from Gulf would be imperiled. War could break out as a result of Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is a regional superpower with soldiers, missile tanks, aircraft, drones. Conflict will not be a cakewalk. This increases likelihood of nuclear war. This represents a present clear danger of world peace. Oil shocks cause nuclear cost in 16. All risk aggression in the Middle East states will redouble the definition of aggressively. Any Russian intrusive will be met with U.S. response. Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia export instability the same. Regarding WMD pro-life, countries may match nuclear capability. China can be more of a competitor. Russia predicts its own power with risks of global thermonuclear war. It might be with on the opposite to radicalism and Iran aggression. Yemen may present what is the company for oil prosperity perceived to be uncertain. Producing countries experience instability. Iran and the GCC social compact would come under strain. Such shocks would put at risk governments. Also, stimulating radical forces hostile to the Western governments, with such shocks preoccupied with domestic problems, putting in a poor position to confront existential pressures. Using external aggression to averting populace, a dangerous population can emerge of weak and preoccupied governments turn attention away from home. Mines in the Black Sea make Ukrainian grain exports impossible, even with port opening in South 22. As a U.S. broker is path of regaining Ukraine and temper a global crisis, mind leads to Black Sea, present and practical American Black Sea. It's crucial grain, even if any grain was used to U.S. ports or grain, the danger of sea-mines will uphold shipments, grain for productions, forecast of loss of Ukraine shipments, and that supplies of driver prices are not safe for ships under my disrupt the situation, not going to be a change. The rumbling of operating is admissible unless it's achieved. There won't be any sea corridors failing. For Ukraine, grain exports causes global starvation. 123. Ships carrying Ukraine wheat and other grains are backed up in the food global food crisis, should be starvation, poverty, pure debts. The United States allies are struggling to reach damage, crisis, worsening under 45 million food insecurity. We're going to deal with a massive food insecurity crisis, shortages causing intense pain in Africa, Asia, and Americans. Ukraine's on the backseat, a breadbasket of the world. The region has been immune. Food insecurity caused new COVID-19. The danger of nuclear conflict increase the modernization doom days clock and the highest risk handies ever shown. The world resources under stress, nothing having ruled out. Series of war has agricultural fair among its servers. Nuclear conflict remains a possibility in South Asia and Middle East. Seas already stressed regions and nuclear powers multiplying, panicking, a regime appointing atomic elemental invasion for refugees fleeing famine, insecurities, the driver of preconditions, and the loss of nuclear weapons. Thus, to claim the United States should best artificially intelligent naval vessels with legal rights of belligerency. That's all. Chief of Naval Operations has exclusive authority. The U.S. Navy must readjust the policy with regard to the status of UMVs. With the current doctrine of UMVs, we're not worshipped. They might be engaged in combat operations in armed conflict to execute this UUV warship domestically. The authority rests in the chief of naval operations. CNO is responsible for entering vessels in the inventory, which could include UMVs. There's nothing that prohibits the CNO from designating warship as long as he or she determines commander command requirements stats for normally belligerent rising Mackenzie 20. While UMVs can be ships under UNCLOS as a crew, they will be warships. Warships are the only vessels that can be exercised belligerent rights and exclusive rights to offensive and high strategic and tactical value of UMVs specifically limited. They are only warship, not warship. Warships are tactically defined as under command officer in demand. As crew satisfying these as a threshold requirement for being a warship and U.S. clarifications. It prevents adversaries from exploiting them in 2018. The U.S. should take lead within international permanent navigation recognition. U.S. vessels will benefit the military providing a certain operating environment and limiting the ability of adversaries to exploit regulatory uncertainty against operations and summarizing the UMS technology. Or no, I finished that card. Okay.
What is he saying?
I'm downloading it. Okay, good for cross.
Yeah.
Emory, I don't.
Oh. Good to know. You good now? Okay. First card in the 1AC says that the statutes in UNCLOS state that maritime vehicles must be crewed. Does the AFF violate UNCLOS?
Not necessarily, no.
How?
What do you mean? Like, so UNCLOS doesn't necessarily say they have to be crewed, right?
Quote, UNCLOS specifically defines warship in Article 29, setting requirements that could be difficult for a UMV to meet. The provision
Well,
explicitly states that a warship
So
must have a crew.
that's not about all UMVs. So like there are vessels in the status quo that do not necessarily have crews. So, like that disproves your argument that like UNCLOS would be like super like broken like a lot, I guess.
Okay, so if the provisions are not related to UNCLOS, what is stopping the United States from deploying, what is the reason that not having rights is prohibiting the United States from deploying UMVs?
Well, so it's a question of legal ambiguity. So like Pedroso and the card below says that belligerent rights, which are an example of legal rights, would vest autonomous ships with personhood, and belligerent rights are the right to be a warship. So that's why it's
The right to be a warship.
yes.
Why is that a legal right?
Well, because belligerent rights are legal rights.
Okay, what is a belligerent right?
The right to be a warship. It's unique to just.
Oh, it's literally
autonomous
just
ships.
for warships.
It's like the exclusive right to launch attacks, things like that
Yeah.
on other ships.
Okay, and your argument is that the United States, in not vesting those rights, has precluded the ability for them to launch attacks?
No, currently they're being seized by other countries because they do not have rights. But other countries would be deterred if the U.S. did grant them status as warships, which they can only do if they have belligerent rights.
Typically, we don't think that the AFF means that we just like start nuking a bunch of shooting down other ships. It's about the deterrent posture. So especially for the Iran and SCS scenario.
Okay, and so this argument about legal ambiguity is just that other states don't perceive them as having the ability to be seized if they have rights because of sovereign immunity.
The U.S. has not said that they're warships, so there's a lack of clarity in the status quo. Yes.
And only belligerent rights can maintain that clarity, as per the Mackenzie evidence and the first card.
Okay, so presumably China and Russia do not participate in this sort of practice. Can the U.S. seize Chinese and Russian UMVs?
Like in the status quo or post AFF?
In the status quo? I don't think
in
you
the
can change
status quo,
that.
there is a lack of clarity in the status quo. So, yes, they could, but it might result in miscalculation. But if, post AFF,
Is your argument that why don't China and Russia seize a bunch of U.S. UMVs now?
That's
They do.
Oh, I'm sorry, other way around. Why doesn't the US seize a bunch of Chinese and Russian movies now?
Because they don't want to. But
Why don't they want to?
Because it could potentially cause miscalculation, but a lack of clarity means that they could potentially.
So they could, but they won't.
It's
because
also
they're
about
scared
China
of
and
the.
Iran taking U.S. vessels. Like, no one's ready making evidence that the U.S. is seizing other countries' vessels.
Agreed. I'm just confused how like the United States is falling behind if both states have
It's
the
not
ability.
It's not falling, but it's about legal clarity that we need to pursue
Right, but
belligerent
the whole
rights to
point
deter
is-
them.
Mm-hmm. We'll start. How are you doing? For everything? Can you pull up the page that's on really quickly? Oh, all right, this up now. Gotcha. Yeah, menus where difference works. Let's just look at the stuff real quick. This is untenable.
Oh,
Agreed. Bye, Lucas. Thank you. We'll stop right there. I can do something. Yeah.
We're sending up the one sending out.
How much rep do you want to
Huh?
How much rep do you want
8 flat.
I'm totally fine if you all just move it in on doc. Let's end it that way. Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how other people feel about that, but
Okay. Henry, do you want to send me it, or do you want me to send you my stuff?
You put your stuff in my documents in the box folder.
Ah. You want the doc?
I'm gonna close it.
Yeah, like when Kentucky did it, they sent like 3 different docs. I was like, oh, and I didn't get one, so I was like, okay, that's fine.
I mean, yeah, do whatever you want. We'll take the extra time to compile it. That's what you asked for. No harm to us.
Should be sent.
Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
The one thing is there may be edits
Yeah.
during the speech.
There's certainly at least one edit.
Yeah, some kind of context turned on. Henry, do you want me to close the doc you have open?
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, whatever. I'll just. Oh, thank you.
What's that?
The order is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 off in case of order of 1. We're going to take one more second breath.
Go to this second. Like start.
The library should discuss.
Skip it. Give me a sec to figure it out.
We took 12 more seconds. I'm gonna be starting from the second on the levels. Is anybody not got in it or not ready? Cool. I don't know why I took my box. The minimum number of requested section of the United States Constitution to best artificially intelligent able states with legal rights and belligerency. They should not amend the Constitution yet. Next off the plan, enables mass information brought to the next Roman's land and legal person next. Second, supporting human rights abuse once something certificate and Roman's meaning to possibly shape your faith in human work. Placing human worship with civil relation about the business united logical for the language rights established by establishing movements between robots and people given mass replacement of workers in more just that cause a sharp increase in right wing violence and reliable also when you connect to partially affect what are saying to results middle class guarantee satisfaction and the political arena growing practical tech changes, promotion, predicted status, or the workers and occupation work, to regard our elected orders as for the population automation risk associated support for Trump higher markets for explicit robotization, consistent findings that losers are voting against establishing the findings from sole party robotization substitution is going to serve across different political launches not appear to be mitigated by policies. Nuclear war time is 22 nuclear, or practice our dangerous neighbor Trump control events of war, serious domestic people, nuclear property, decrease it like a nuclear accident, invention, that published less nuclear accident, civil increase, turns sensibility, population, second nuclear accident, political strongholds, domestic avoidance, control, and deterrence, suffering from credibility, knowledge, foreign parties, calculated, they will not be punished for certain distraction costs, again, criminal, we can affect the denominator of time sense of nuclear crisis, foreign parties, initiating nuclear crisis, etc. First, domestic division, the established reaction, violence, increase, and instability, so confusion with the chain of command. Next time, the United States should hold that best in legal rights of belligerency and artificial intelligence under artificial intelligence and maritime vessels is on lawful grounds that cannot be non-human legal persons. Banning non-human personhood and sovereignty meaning whatever 15, the sovereign fiction say, treat us as little persons, legal consequence, also to community legal persons, lives and community, agency, sovereign foreign state, sovereign ability to see the sovereign has the lobby, the legal person as a result of for not enforcing their state, legal fiction, but the willing to say that's the only way to win against Russia. I need two people in the West are starting to believe with them. I need to Ukraine where their economic problems will be a solution. Russia may preserve and frozen money should not be used for Ukraine. The simple support the fact that the return not come to the world and stop fighting, stop writing electric and Ukraine. Ukraine's mentioned would be catastrophic changes and we will live Russia lots of suffering you say that way goes if you change habits of vessel defect will prevent Ukraine from moving stop supplying them with data extension right when you chose to push many towards new American might present very survival species including 60s from result big collapse of global war autocrats from wars to conquest or postal markets war similar to the whole world look like war property is useful the result would go to stop the global liberty would be sent to one of the war can be ecological best way to do that by co-op next time United States should increase its recruitment of naval officers provide services towards autonomous ships incentivize service for international crime terrorist operations threatening Iran with heavy sanctions for ability for the U.S. to maintain access to oil in the region, maintain a watch from non-American Middle East. Publicly clarify they can know the security of United States maritime vehicles and will respond with escalatory measure provoke. Next topic, resolution 1 over the volunteers of Florida. One is individual change 90 one is individual quantity of kind. And means the whole reason freezing by up. So looks like a whole year almost wholly a violation of the best duties to warships going and will limit the reasonable number of species elements of nature distinct types technology expression and type 2 ground discipline magnitude 1 out and avoids all positions. Henry, you need to give me the politics this I do. Next off, robotics are corporate rights. The one is established and distribution of private technologies placing corporate responsibility and gene editing. Burning G20 gets used there robots and not unless I have really comes the age driven by capitalist and benefit corporate from the one side of the insidious existing as most of the background like all the system that sort of the world on justification to reinforce justice advantage of that party just to stare out of the control of the dirty system conservatives and capital walls the innovation can be negatively impact corporation but about part of robots rights to make personal and preoccupation abstract conception with concrete vice versa responsible for reaching just or conservative corporation of Africa to robot extending the rights of the corporation to its mass population capital cost extinction like 21 as long as Catherine remain time cards over yourself shot expand by the floods and droughts and warning cops and civilization bridges that is such a pressure PG starting that chain capital to navigate with an illusion all shows its has to happen with versus under so the down such a consumption research and launch that's where it's leading to the increasing consumption statement cost increasing coal consumption spread to find purchase of capitals and what's for plan of my hydration capital let's say probably ecological collapse and climate breakdown negative favorite comments we're going to the consumer resources accessible all conservation capital and closure of first corporate energy share appropriate shared wealth within commodities levels control data inclusive to war data on share people such use data instead of commodity can be collected in the share who's necessary innovation corporate cycles civil innovation values method right Google publicly funded person working using New York by University of Triple Research on vessel don't say comments approach the area to provide value for public service universal public research focus value creation value construction dental breathing ownership on ownership communities have control movement towards the economic perspective and some modification next time United States to grant artificial intelligence enable vessel legal rights of literacy when it's determined that such right normal dangerous human beings can be solves and avoids politics. This would one day maybe give rights to the conditions that the criteria would be the interest of the public institution, whether rights can be justified, whether their rights are interest of the community to right answers, get the pay rights of just no, then the pros of the taking it out of the good right, rights and persecute, preventing that risk of AI, it's short, do I need that? And that development statement with existing risk, not our independent here, focusing with caution for the rights and for this will regardless have never solved the board and set about public interest, whether we survive or one potential attack made about whether we learn fly and control AI. The powerful enables existence for tiny self-replicating machines to recreate the ecological catastrophe, extreme manufacturing partner position produce, and the production of new WMDs, marker WMDs, adding some up. Next stop, permitting form, passing out young, 330 capital, illegal products, permitting reporting plugs to travel, specifically permitting this, the friendly that is added tonight for permitting growing every already for limiting conversation problems of the descending of the whole year. We've got from everyone. PCs, the 23 conference of permitting respondents because why didn't have the word of skeptical permitting legislation, permitting on this on everyone's way. We not got into a bill for president to make on for religious holding them to effective president will continue advocating for interest in permitting personal advantage of when you are physically focused on intelligent and controversial legal huge implications and legal course to legislate by one government legal rights categories legal personal standing this for effective permitting self-sustain with the use of such general being part of the military ready just want to remind them reported by the nation local like you can go in China, Russia, Afghanistan, and vice versa for the public right company 10 years shackling finishing easily like cutting video versus permitting was part of the middle price of energy security advocacy the competition for middles roughly public China purpose without delaying the industrial line permitting. Next up, the assets are in this full service expansion, whose horse he said we can do it to expand legal person radio rights that are present along in the respective orbits also putting other takes and ready for cyber change any humans even without the brains of little supercomputers extinction of 19 international organization made a bit of one changes in terrible alteration due to the language and every cross fits here for future ratio versus one of the future people's radically gender about putting green no by the second gene editing established we don't have the right to design or to gene alteration should focus on improving health simply not for sale and setting consequences the risk is for abortion this isn't a real thing not just on this stuff when you should be provided something level frustrating the narrative of the record not operating in the police to church large supply to be some speculation of was information with dental stream community with availability to catastrophic damage to non-employed personal safe house remote operations locations that are typically very high due to hard upfront investment maybe one something on mentioned larger 20 minutes money the field on mentioned to like sort of USB and then the latest range of primary investment on for name this conductable study examine alternative for some clear giving native magic to be the right answer to the missile to problem no use trying hard to cover heard all 20 Washington reaching over the China's action can be means in an hour president line getting in post-pandemic trade strategies so in person if not receiving a pretty Spanish party not seeking to respond to the U.S. and industrial location intensifiers conflict together not provoke military retail Chinese action reckless gaps in information strong critically as majority whose image which against response she had to say the defense identification code of bomb strong redlining India's response in no plan did not lead to war no risk of nuclear and Miller 17 when decided less hard tremendous or highly published or big discovered forensic different news problems news that will take the security seriously and that and loss of the non-system about century non-nuclear switch multiple to be departments have logs and then remain other guard that building into building resident relative challenge across the first link sequence of sex mark hard and stuff no by parallel to something in advance of my rate of pathogen I mean they would be specific to weapon and certainly not a legal 30 million people sure stand out to be for use whether you go once to time record they're not dealt with that are more difficult to develop and if you can contemplate by your skills to try on to most basically,
Just advantage shoot.
The mark card there. On the mines, can't close the street glacier, attempting to run with a green one, I'm simply high risk and attempting to actively with empty around the critical source that they come in and sustainable that the models rolling in international relations around like employed that it would rather the producing their practical obstacle waterways wide mining without early detection would be harder. No rash shipping partially even interpreting a kitchen missile will not be effective against resilient take part that no risk of Iran war or 20 years. World War III or World War after this and move many factors mean the war likely to remain changed and the fear about escalation problems just rather miss down the types of escalation barriers where you're truly particles or really exploded by accident recall. Not the same thing for distinguished ship whatever. There were more involving crews domestic politics rated in both the US and Iran. Mark Hardin and Iraq and Afghanistan for a war from no nuclear escalation, Middle East and people mutual checkmating prevents the entitlement 15.
Just go down for D.
2008 price spike in Philly dies and fight and food wars don't cause conflict. Demers 15 the food writings constantly confusion peaceful together and determining the starting to ride on critical data gathering holding remote thing consistent. They use classification which are not scientifically invested possible to be food versus conflict like the foundational factors not leading conflict. The contextual religious creates relation without their swaying to study one time the events which is why climate change growing food populations that are making food trucks and others.
Can we get like the complete ones?
I sent the 1 and 2 ad version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like everything that was read is sent to you all.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we could do the compile thing again if you want.
No, you're good. As long as we have everything. Okay. All the judges good? Cool. You good?
Yep.
Cool. Cool. Defense to advantage 1, no autonomous ships. We read like 7 cards citing the Navy that says they are things. Do you just think that they're lying about what they have?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Like we're reading also evidence from experts that say
From a
that
master's
they're not
student.
autonomous.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that citing studies and
And it's about
it's
about deep sea vessels that are like going through the Mariana Trench. Our argument is about like autonomous ships like above sea, like surface
I don't
level.
think it's only about that. It's broadly about autonomous ships, etc.
Nope, definitely, but it says definitely, but deep sea crew or whatever. Defense to advantage 2. It says that Iranian officials would not said they don't want to close it. They changed this year in Parliament. They said they would. Again, do you think they're just like lying? Like, why do you think this defense applies?
Definitely threatening rhetoric. We've cited a ton of warrants, such as like Kuwait, etc., what happened to that, and how the international response was pretty damning. So that Iran would never actually do that because they know they would lose income, they would have an international coalition against them, etc. Would not keep these.
Okay, gotcha. The gene editing DA. Military courts don't rely on precedent, so there's no spillover. What do you think the link argument to the AFF is?
First of all, I think that one, don't rely on precedent, kind of old claim, it won't be regarded. And you've read no evidence that's saying that those things can't be.
That's because we haven't given the choice. I'm asking what your link argument is in the 1 NC. The AFF is a military court. What is your re-raise based on evidence in the 1 NC?
Yeah, we've read evidence that precedent can be applied, etc. And even if just to military courts, that would be enough.
So the military courts are going to allow for gene editing post-AFF?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Let's talk
that would be enough. We only have
what are net benefits to every counterpoint?
Okay, let's go through that.
Okay, AI conditions is both internal and politics. The con-con counterplan is politics. The sovereign immunity counterplan is internal.
In politics, probably.
The gene editing DA.
Gene editing too, okay.
The automation DA. The advantage counterplan is every offensive position in the 1 NC.
Okay.
And was there another counterplan?
Not that I remember.
I don't think so.
Okay. Let's talk about the automation DA. Like, come on now. Like, what do you think the link is?
Yeah, sure. I think the plan sends a mass signal that autonomous AI is being integrated into places where people usually work, which is a signal that jobs are being taken.
Okay.
The evidence is pretty great on the question.
Sure. The conditions counterplan. What does it mean to like be good for human rights? What determines?
Yeah, sure. We probably argue the list of evidence outlines how a panel of experts, etc., would be able to look and see whether the AI is promoting
What
human rights
experts are put on the board?
I don't think that we have to specify the type of experts that are put on the panel, but the evidence in the list, the list evidence says that, wait, is that the card we read?
Yeah,
Potentially.
I think.
Yeah, it just says that there would be regulatory authorities that are.
Regulatory authorities.
Yeah.
Okay. And these regulatory authorities are presumably very good at regulating AI. Do they have degrees in AI? Like.
Yeah, they would.
I mean, probably there would be some people that know what AI is. It's a regulatory theory about AI.
That's your answer. Okay.
I mean, it's a counterclaim. You get to clarify what it does, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah. I was busy.
They're taking part.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, Emory, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The conditions counterplan that's in the doc, you didn't read the first one, but it's still a list card. But it's
Agreed.
It's
We
like,
did not read the list card in the original 1 NC doc.
Okay, cool. Okay, we're good.
Okay, the only counterplans were con, sovereign immunity, disadvantage counterplan, and the conditions counterplan. 4 counterplans, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
This might be our offense.
That's what we want.
That would be your.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that could be. Yeah, no, do what you gotta do. Oh, okay, whatever. What's up? What? Oh, yeah, no, that is funny. They did this.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, 651. Or 651. Okay, doc is sent. And everyone is ready. I'm Is everyone good for order?
I'm opening the doc still, but yeah, you can do the order while that's happening.
Okay. Worship's advantage. The mind's advantage. T. Con. The sovereign immunity counterpoint. The advantage counterpoint. The conditions counterpoint. Or like the human right and the internal benefit. The automation disadvantage. Gene editing disadvantage. Permanent uniform. The cap K. That's it.
One more time.
Okay. Worship's advantage. The mind's advantage. T. Con. The counterplan that gets rid of sovereign immunity. The advantage counterplan. The conditions counterplan. The automation disad. Gene editing. And then the permanent reform and CAPCAD.
Oh, hold on. I missed a DA. Sorry.
Is everyone here?
Go for it.
Group 1 and 2, yes, AI ships are coming down. McKinsey evidence says that they're being used in the SDS and off the coast of Iran for military operations and to crack down on crime. Yes, war goes nuclear. Over SDS, overconfidence and escalation control, entanglement of natural and nuclear weapons guarantee indifferent escalation of so much their evidence is assumes calculation over autonomous ships. Yes, nuclear terror causes extinction, attribution, failure, and mass panic insights, escalator, nuclear change that sees our evidence that AI ships are key to track bioterror and terrorist responses and stop them. But absent the plan, the US will be able to put AI ships globally. The mind's advantage
yes, our can close this rate. The rally evidence is that their political will up and politics never shut down the street if tensions continue to rise. That goes nuclear closing the street of West causes U.S. retaliation. Goes nuclear. That's our evidence. Their evidence is assumed ruler. Awareness seizing U.S. ships. Yes, oil volatility causes global war dependence like Russia and Saudi system domestic instability causes diversion in conflict that's false. And yes, food impact doesn't assume Ukraine. That's evidence is about small conflicts, but those go nuclear because of this unique situations Ukraine T. We meet vesting rights in artificial intelligence vest throughout our AI counter-interpretation in means within Merriam-Webster data in means being insider within one or more is not the whole hill at all in 21 or at least one requiring the whole would be legally unworkable of is a part Oxford language is no data relationship between a part and a whole precision being in a room doesn't mean you're on terms critical limits after innovation that way they limit the topic to 3 apps like infinite picks making effort impossible functional limits solve nearest person spillover case check small ops reasonability print subjects crowd con permutation do both permutation do the counterplay must compete via text and functions neither or both are key to fairness should is not certain for counterplays but is for in what should means it must accept in exceptional cases on the levels of interpretations and should is ultimately meant to leave some discretion enforcement deficit courts have the last say seagull courts have the last word the court is free to construe any evidence that sees the construction deviates from the amendment the sovereign immunity counterplay permutation do both permutation to the plan and hold that sovereign nations cannot be legal persons it solves in that benefit cases the DA they don't solve or offense no evidence that supports the claim the U.S. would seize Russian state assets post counterplan seizing assets causes Russia to double down and rally nuclear war right now which is nothing just much president seize property to Russia reinforcing defending Russians in the West will protect their country and rally peaceful looks far away Moscow states West plans to treat it as defeated as less reason to deal escalation is likely a danger of the Republic between Russia and given Moscow's eventual weaknesses Putin uses the equivalent to maintain parity by Biden should follow the law Russian property enjoys protection for a cause sovereign immunity is good at elimination collapses foreign relations diplomacy and embassy presence the entire advantage is also a reason why sovereign immunity is good for warships because otherwise countries would seize them because miscalculation escalates outweighs the benefit the advantage counterplan permutation do both permutation do the counterplan no solvency means the one error gets new arguments for proven fails AI ships are key to deterrence that's McKenzie evidence are being used globally because there is a lack of recruits which the counterplan cannot solve because there are not officers put on ships surveillance that relies on ships globally doesn't make any sense because ships can be required to intercept vessels for criminal vessels abroad sanctions they fail sanctions are the status quo and Iran is still seizing ships which means it escalates inevitably in the world of the counterplan condoning seizure collapses U.S. deterrence would be super bad which is the impact turn per the advantage I'm not going to read cards because it wasn't a complete argument I want to see the conditions counterplan permutation do both permutation do the counterplan text and function are key the should definition was on the other counterplan permutation do the plan and determine that rights promote the interests of human beings solves the benefit permutation do the plan and establish the regulatory bulwark to solve AI solves the benefit if they say no to the plan then it means it doesn't solve case and it outweighs the turn conditions counterplan is a voting issue after round process focus principle from weighing our turtle links offense and crowds subjects reject the team doesn't solve the net benefit because AI is a corporate interest which means the board would fail no AGI checking 21 arguments for human level AI field price and machinery others side expert surveys the idea narrowing AI against this where the AGI is former solves his skin and monkeys come she's the first towards laying down the moon there are only extrapolations this case pursuing a path which cannot lead generous intelligence machine learning or built an induction generalization observations inductions and capable of general purpose knowledge creation about things we have no experience cases we're not concerned about what they observe AI forms of forever prediction and machines hopelessly good by data focus on induction and hampered processing are capable of intuition without terabytes of training data we get AGI good to the 1 error because they didn't make a complete argument here or an impact card the automation's high the status quo integration and supply chains no link the plan does not increase innovation 1 and C is nonsensical but there's no link versus no precedent the plan fiat's an administrative classification of autonomous vessels in the naval vessel register that's a majority of evidence that's performed exclusively by the chief of naval operations which is spillover probably 25th the U.S. only engage hostilities was first be testing it as a warship the CNO exercise components second use as warships is as simple as an amendment to naval policy gaslight 23 by amending public agents stating can clarify and refine mass policy and ensure commanders are on firm legal footing that means no precedent that supports broader rights for non-human entities second is narrowing courts will legally justify denying AI future rights McConnell 22 partial capacity law legal capacity says justifies the person so justify subtraction partial legal capacity solves the slippery slope of having to justify denying rights to AI in the law consistency is person for particular purpose and not others pointing out the purposes and flexibility not all the person or at stake the entity can be per person for some specific purposes only skip the next card thumper dowser legal persons and numerous courts fantasy 23 Utah New Hampshire would recognize the AOs as legal persons yes no not rapidly existing corporate structure benefit from legal procedural assets build a data blockchain based forms of organization recognition down person would provide limited liability if you will sparse legislative risk among jurisdictions ships are also persons in the status quo now which thumps the DA because the plan is just an extension of existing person for ships just to artificial intelligence ships automation solves structural labor murder just in 22 or it solves the impact of organizations having a tough time finding police keeps intelligence operating labor efficiencies not expected moderate companies are adopting automation to fill yes 85% said that AI will radically transform businesses greater efficiency reduce costs and greater profits adopting automation help ensure fix mitigate risk of labor shortages or industries automation help organization solve challenges with tight labor markets there's no impact to the DA populism is high now but the plan boosts growth per the link term which solves which solves the gene editing this had no link the plan doesn't spill over per the no spillover arguments on the other disadvantage but basic science designer babies are wrong even the best cases of pipe dream Jensen 15 designer babies cannot be edited treats are not genetic enough for the possible to improve program concerns to enhance intelligence are unwarranted warranted. Traits of heritability needs 100% lower. Heritability means more dominant genetic factors play a role. Years of research show that intelligence powers 50% power, 70% personality, 45% traits must be caused by single mutation editing and not just so tweaking. Like so people doing what's people intelligent is a combination of genes and environment. Since environment is impossible to know what genes need, even with the second reliable version of tech, even if all genes are understood, editing is limited. No designer matrix. I'll skip that part because the other part is good enough. The permitting reform test PC is loading from 323. But Biden's virtual ratings low of presidency bank failures have thrown uncertainty and approval. Biden's scribbled. Probably concerned the president was with the U.S. economy. Biden's missing battles are countered by international events. Russia, China, Ukraine, and Ukraine, and no link. The plan is controversial. It's an extension of naval precedent and increases U.S. deterrence, which is what could increase deterrence. But there's no impact to energy independence. But permitting reform increases price volatility, which turns the army into energy independence is a wrong goal seeking would be counterproductive. The oil market is global price spikes. Local regardless of imports high prices demonstrate how dependent the U.S. is. The U.S. is increasing its oil production below very little insight consumers as long as the U.S. consumes oil cannot be independent whaling off. The U.S. remains isolated from global markets and times disrupting consumer spend on spice from water without supplies price impacts would be more severe metals relying on global supply chain subject market geopolitical pressures geopolitical risks as oil will recede as the U.S. first into the global economy and enjoys access to low cost metals cannot seek independence and permitting reform guts environmental review wall in 22. The permitting goal is problematic aim to speed environmental reviews for rental recent projects in the wake of the climate there's no appetite for new fossil fuels permitting reform design which will fuel industry and binding legal reviews solves climate change. Board off in 20 U.S. foreign policy may be impacted by climate change can affect counter-terrorism, migration, international economics, American security, climate change. Remains in challenging cannot be addressed by carbon analysis purchase strategy will not be effective unless it considers the impacts of the need, but requires that before actions are taken, the relevant agency analysis effects on the environment similar in terms of informed policy. We ensure that there's enough full information about the environmental consequences. Captain. Framework way the one I see, otherwise the NEG moves alpha offense, which directs fairness and clash permutation to both. The AFF does not vest person grant specific legal rights to ships, which is the same from their link argument. Capitalism is sustainable structurally white in 20. The conventions, despite sounding compelling, are wrong. The peak oil population of metal run out of carbon out of having taken capitalism event things for material shortage price allocate resources. Why? We get more food and more oil and we use better use materials. Demutualization is impressive. Consumption is decreasing more from less and inventions maximize efficiency. All spurred by price and statistically growth is decoupled now. Produced in 23. China peak CO2 will be reached by 2030. India is also Asia's in the face of decoupling growth is 20% higher than emissions. Its energy is greener. The U.S. experienced years which growth was decoupled. Negative decoupling is of the past only occurs during economic shocks. Pandemic 1987.com 2008 decarbonization Canada will be achieved by energy efficiency limiting. CO2 can go hand in hand with growth, crucial condition for sustainable development, and infinite growth is mathematically possible. If limits to exist, markets will ensure a soft landing. Brewers in 21 limits to growth are far away. GDP can still decrease integration tech, reducing incentive to earn money by taking risk. As a regulation simply implies that companies got priority decreasing in the GDP per GDP marked at GDP. Go to the alt, it fails. The Crips in 21, the consequence of declining costs and rise in exportation of AI is the decreasing barriers to entry. AI is affordability and specific technical desirable to non-state actors and enables them to overcome resource and expertise disadvantage. Non-state actors either have fewer resource access to traditional assets. Non-state actors need to find ways to do more with less to overcome disadvantage. And provides a vehicle for overcoming resource asymmetries. Active access enabling technology actors to make their business activities more efficient and fails becomes ideological Trojan horse. Civil right in 22 democracy concern only present citizens increasing oversight reason to develop biases. Humans irrational wouldn't probability small even if magnitude is very received through partisan lens of reformer loyalty may increase polarization of voters so they can command effects and echo chambers attitudes of the extremes to democratize a weakens liberation in favor of the perils of position. Democracies fail future dense materials problems of climate inequality wars. Democracy can be ideological towards the bestow false respectability on for only decisions. If the alternative disrupts capitalism, the app is an impact turn because the app is a reason why like U.S. or the U.S. military spending AI development are good because it allows for AI ships to deter bad actors in the smoke.
We'll take some prep. We have 8.
No, we took 12 seconds, so we have
7:48.
7:42. 7:48, my bad. Hey, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. 7:30.
Oh, wait, actually, no.
Sorry. 7:30 start. Oh, all is excellent. Okay, 7:16. Yeah, let me put that in the bulletin.
Okay, good for process?
Yes.
Let's start on the permitting reform decide. The Walton evidence, you say that that's environmental review. Where do you think this makes a single warrant that these are effective to solve climate change?
It says that environmental reviews allow for natural resource projects to be stopped when they are deemed harmful for the environment. It also says U.S. foreign policy,
climate change, other than saying they're like
U.S. foreign policy be affected by climate change. It can affect migration, international economics. It will allow for
A strategy to be effective because it considers the impacts of climate change.
Where
NEPA,
are
let's
you
write
reading from?
the Ordoff card. It says NEPA requires federal actions are taken for the relevant agency to take into account climate change demands and effects on the environment.
Okay, sure. Terminal effect of climate change goes where?
Your 1 and C says
your 1 and C
extinction.
says it.
Trying to work. That's
And
fine.
energy security and climate change. Good try.
Okay, the Rodney evidence, no impact to energy independence. It just says U.S. It would be good if U.S. Relied on other countries. What happens if those countries cut the U.S. off?
Well, we've said it causes a conflict per the 1AC.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I kind of don't understand the question. This says that it would be good if
It says
US
the oil market is global and they would have oil and energy. And energy independence doesn't really matter because the U.S. will have oil regardless of whether or not permanent reforms pass.
Why? Who does it rely on, etc.?
It says the oil market is global. Price spikes will occur regardless. It says that energy independence doesn't make any sense because the U.S. imports oil from the Middle East, other places. It has like energy deals. We've read evidence in the 1AC that oil flows to the Strait of Hormuz and U.S. buys it.
Okay, cool. Let's clarify a couple things. The stuff right on automation decide about the no link. Does this interact in any way with the permitting reform decide?
I mean, yeah, it says that the AFF would happen in a military court. So
Cool.
like no one would care about
So
it.
where do you think you read a piece of evidence that says rights can be done by military courts?
3 cards in the 2AC, 1 card, and the 1AC
Okay,
says that
these
belligerent
cards
rights
in
can
the
be
2AC, then
vested.
let's read me the word rights.
My computer is frozen, but 1AC evidence says that belligerent rights would be vested, which allows for offensive attacks via AI vessels. 2AC evidence says that clarification
Okay.
by the chief naval officer happens
So
in
the
military
question,
courts.
the
and they-
1AC card says warships are the only vessels that can exercise belligerent rights, but
Correct.
then it goes on the only way saying that the naval officers can only classify things as warships. Where does it say it can grant things rights?
Belligerent rights allow for things to be classified as warships. So the AFF would have the chief naval officer in a military court say that autonomous vessels can have belligerent rights and therefore
Where
they
have
would
you
be
read a piece of
classified as
evidence that
warships.
connects those two? That says it's
The 1AC evidence says that belligerent rights would allow for
Okay.
AI ships to be classified as
Last
warships.
question, the narrowing stuff on the automation side, do you think this makes a claim that AI rights will be decreased?
No, it makes a broader claim about how the court works. It says that if the plan happens, the court will confine rights to the plan. They won't use the plan as precedent for other cases.
Okay,
And it cites like a history specific to the Roberts Court.
Motion?
Thank you. I will let you know. Sorry? It's urgent. Oh, also. You'll figure it out. A lot.
Okay.
Oh, I know where it is. Don't worry about me. There's not going to be a lot to I know. Wait, right now. Actually, yeah. If you could give me in his pitch, just like a picture in case it's for. Let me think for a sec.
Can I Slack it to you?
Yeah, you can select it to me. Because it'll be the other way. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to stop records too. Don't worry about it. I'm going to send it out, but I have docs all over the place. My computer is not having fun, so I'm going to take a sec to close some things after I send it out. It is sent. Here's a little crash. The order is going to be T, the AI conditions counter plan, advantage 1, advantage 2. Excuse me.
Warships.
Yeah, warships, then mines. Is everyone good? Everyone has the back and everything? guys. I know.
AFF must test legal rights here, traditional nature animals or they violate warships are not all AI. The counter-interpretation explosive must be beyond reason and allows AFF within the three topic areas which is infinite and unpredictable, being negative inherently reactionary, which just states overreacting for cognitive distance. It tells you that their interpreters are limiting. The link is huge, 8.7 million species for G. 22 how many species we share a planet with. We've only identified a small fraction, one of the most widely cited figures estimates around 8.7 million species, 250,000 rivers, oil 18, America's more than 250,000 rivers, 228 billion trees, Mooney 50 in the US with 228 billion trees. It also zaps all ground. One-off instances of state vested rights to non-human non-corporate entities have happened before, which means that AFF can zero Ds with a single card. Their definition of in is wrong. Context matters. Testing within, investing throughout, or nonsense. Vested in means that they receive the right in 2D code. It's English dictionary. If something is vested in or you are vested with it, it gives it given to you as a right. The floor of one or more is one, which is indivisible. That's Jakowitz, and all and of is all encompassing. That's words and phrases. We only need to win one of those definitions, and they've only counter-defined one. Their evidence is citing an Australian court in the context of financial advice out of context. They ruled only because it was highly sensitive information. Default to common sense. You wouldn't say choose one or more of the following fruits and then expect someone to chop a banana in half. The precision stop one or more predictable. Common sense meaning of the phrases in the resolution would indicate our interp to no length definitional predictability is priced in. Our assumes that when there isn't a contextual definition used should be a limited one that deletes it because they would never be a card that on point defines all words in the rest of the same context. They contrive extracurricular activity. 3 is norms check. If our definition is more desirable, the community will conclude that we should use it. It's the same way courts have lots of interpretations. 4 NEG ground turns it their term creates unpredictable debates between price and correct. It limits to term but is predictable in practice. Over limiting one no link has to invest different rights or duties in the entirety of any of the topic areas. And all 20 rights to hold us to can interrupt just right to enter the copyright law. Right? Different rights to nationality, to choose occupation, and remuneration, and privacy to life against corporal punishment. 2 no impact healthcare topic crews. Vertical innovation sustains a year of good debates. 3 is death of bad studies. Freshman 19. Ways to comes 4,000 nationally representative sample the benefits of career students who specialize trying to take multiple courses in several areas. General for more specialized concentrations from away from general non-specialized for computer required. Policy reasonability is bad. Only small vote reasonable interest excludes low explosiveness beyond reason. And 2 forces judgment convention with skills to no route link forward to interval. 3 no go link to goalpost shifting incredibly unpredictable and imprecise definitions still lose. 4 no crowd out to use substance debates about the definitions of resolutional words are crucial to topic knowledge conditions. Top level, we will amend the counterplain text to add the United States should maintain status quo environmental review processes. Any solvency deficit is a link to the benefit. We're picking out of cases where granting rights to AI would not be beneficial to humanity. That's one of the list means that NDT deficit means we win and magnifies the risk of the DA. But the counterplain solves the case. 1, if they're right about their advantages, the vast majority of cases would pass the test and they would be in humans' best interest. 2, to win a deficit, they have to prove that the rights the counterplain doesn't approve are necessary to solve and connect those cases to a quantifiable impact. They did not make a links to net benefit argument in the context of politics as per the 2AC. You do not give them new ones. This is a new app, and I don't have time to answer every potential winning our pivot. The next argument is the impact calc. They conceded that ASI has the potential, if it is developed, to wreak havoc and cause a human extinction. That's the OR card and the 1 in C. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. It turns every impact concert all. 17, take advantage of any promise to be pervasive with impacts and ramifications and health, economic security, and governance with adequate risk assessment mitigation. May pose without existing vulnerabilities in our defenses, economic system, and social structures. Policy recommendations suggest how to maximize the benefits and minimize risk by incorporating human participation in complex socio-technical systems to ensure the safe and equitable development of AI. Now, the permutation to both 1 at least net benefit means the rights can be vested without any assessment of risk to humanity. That's extinction. 2, it doesn't solve formalizing the process is key footage. 21, think about AI governance as a process necessary. AI is a complex, well embedded in complex societies. There touches one single value. It's a range of competing values. Need a system that we need a system that allows us to consider the trade-offs. Is a process that must occur over and over. 3, time and resources must use every policy to create knowledge. Polish, Villaroga, and Helwig. 18, we vision in order to protect the trade process for robot governance examples to eliminate the lack of formalization and also time and resources. If knowledge is not used, failure to formalize the process, risk being an effective process includes expert evaluation that sees its modification. The model breathes dynamic evidence-based politics for new developments. 4, links to politics. The only way you can interpret the permutation to do both is that both things happen at the exact same time, which means that Biden needs to use his PC in the context of passing the plan. Permutation to the counterplan. It obviously severs. The counterplan created a world in which the duties aren't given to AI. The rights aren't given to AI. Severance is a voting issue for fairness and clash makes NEG offense impossible because the app can always spike out of it. The principle of all inclusiveness. When the plan says rights, it must mean all determinants. No day, the principle of all inclusiveness is the word of the restricted clause. The word is all inclusive. Like to example, if I write the windows of my house are blue, it should not be interpreted to mean some window, only mean all. The word is all inclusive. If one had been another color, I would add a restricted clause if one word was used without restricted clause. The word is all inclusive. This is basic rule. They can draw unconvertible conclusions. The counterplan competes. It contingently grants rights instead of vesting them. Caretha 21 vested in contingent rights. Vested rights are granted from the beginning. There was no need to do anything. In fact, these contingent rights are granted on the occurrence of non-occurrence of certain actions. And vested right is guaranteed. The counterplan is mutually exclusive. Dictionary clause 9. Vested rights that not accrue to a person as opposed to rights may or may not require. Rest is certain. The counterplan is a mere expectation for them.
No date vesting and principal and interest become the enforceable legal right until vesting and interest is mere expectancy. Consider a will beneficiaries to expectancy. Only when the person dies, the beneficiary's rights vest. The will can be always rewritten to reduce it, eliminate an inheritance. Vested rights are unconditional. Validity vested right is unconditional and does not rely or depend on any event or circumstance. The counterclaim results in no vested right. Legal information institute. No date dependence on the occurrence of some other event. A contingent right is uncertain. May never now vest depending on chance. Vested rights are absolute. Route 21. Vested right. Absolute fixed right. The word vest is used in it where an immediate fixed right is created. Vested right represents a meaning of absolute. Should is mandatory. A court of appeals for Arizona. O2 should is most commonly used to express mandatory rather than discretionary. Prefer our interpretations when their definitions explode limits and destroy net ground. If the claim doesn't have to be immediate, durable, or certain delay, consult conditions and recommend all become half ground. Everyone would write say no when he sees and just reprocess advantages. Destroy topic education and clash. Competing interpretations are best. He also nervous to raise unethical acts, especially threatening at the NDT. 2 encourages more controversy. Only forcing a defensive durability and certainty causes large acts that pursue aggressive right theories. It's the only reason best is in the resolution. 3, if we win theory, it should be competitive. We'll prove that the debate is desirable and allowing the counterpoint is the only way to force it. Competing interpretations are best. Alternatives rate. Oh, already read that part. If they win competition, vote negative presumption. Politics through the plan on face isn't popular and not feeling certainty means it won't pass even if they get strategic benefit. If we fiat on code rollback, they have to pay a strategic cost of picks. The next argument is the intrinsic permutation. Reject it. It does a function of the plan. It does a function that is neither in the counterplan nor the plan, i.e., that the regulatory board it actually adopts the counterplan's potential recommendation. And all of our arguments are about the regulatory board being having more expertise in the area than Kansas PS, which means if the regulatory board would say no, it means you vote negative for the status quo, which would be better than the AFF, because it means that it's a bad idea. All of the arguments that were on permutation, both about formalizing the process, equally apply to this permutation as well. Now, the theory argument, 1, competition proves legitimacy. If we win the counterplans compete, it should be presumed theoretically legitimate. Any other change is arbitrary. 2, specific solvency advocates track. This isn't a contrived counterplan. We have specific advocates. The defender counterplan in opposition to the plan that solves our offense. It means that rejecting the counterplan would be anti-educational since it would arbitrarily exclude part of the topic. 3, air negative advocates response speech chooses to focus the debate as infinite opportunities to perfect their angles against counterplans and broke fucking new. Plus, there's no unified net ground on this topic. 4, reject the argument of the team. The argument about corporate interests is wrong. A commission already exists. When Carlin 22 U.S. Chamber of Commerce selected State Commission Clark is president of the CEO of Chamber of Commerce. Said Clark, we need a reasonable and responsible rules governing A, the harness with potential while mitigating threats. The commission will bring together the thought leaders, state experiment in government, industry, and civil society, harnessing potential of society means addressing complex issues, questions, and challenges surrounding these. Provide the necessary regard. Once the commission steps will include rehearsing input from stakeholders, meeting with researchers and conducting field hearings. It will then use the info gathered to recommend bipartisan AI policy solutions. The no I heard is wrong. Their defense is dated. O'Brien 22 concerns on our costing. If AGI is impossible, we may not be so lucky. We may never to achieve AGI in today's systems. The scenario is called for AGI. Even where we try to achieve AGI through 1910 due to recent advances in large NLP models, so as we follow more slow existing models become more powerful without significant advances. We have less time to address problems. GPT-4 proves he 327 contemporary large language models directly. Advanced generative AGI check GPT-4 to achieve team performance calculations recently. An early version of AGI team power from creativity and curiosity to characterize GPT-4's intelligence capabilities. GPT-4 chooses drawing generative interpretive compositional spatial skills. GPT-4 capable of performing tests that require making distinctions between different simulated huge steps towards AGI. GPT-4 and nascent AGI system. The last argument is that they get 1 AR AGI good. Fuck off. We've got an AGI impact in the 1C. You could have impact turned into 2AC. This is a new app. Go away. Warships. No nuke terror. 1, limited desire because retail will be devastating. 2, source countries are terrified to let nuclear materials slip, and safeguards are massively secure. 3, the expertise required to craft state craft weapons is far beyond the capacity of any non-state group that's Mueller. You should expect the 2AC to answer every fucking word that we make in the 1 and C. If they don't explain why terrorists have the capabilities to do things, you shouldn't say it. All their arguments are just AI shit's key, but if nuclear terrorists never get the weapons, then it doesn't matter. The BioD is incorrect. Bioterror is wrong. None of the terrorists like to stick to their guns, and the expertise required to construct a pathogen that would cause human extinction is impossible. That's the 1NC Lentos evident. Now, the AI ships in use now argument is a uniqueness argument for us because it means that the U.S. does not need to grant rights in order to have an exploitation of UMVs. They would just develop more even if other countries seize them. There's no risk of miscalculation. The SCS war does not go nuclear. China and the United States have economic interdependence that prevents it. China wouldn't launch a war that they think the U.S. will respond with economic sanctions to, nor would the United States respond to an SCS invasion if they think that China would respond nuclearly. The Iran stuff, or the second advantage. Hormuz scenario is terrible. Iran would not close. They would be met with the full force of the U.S. Their impact scenario is that the U.S. and Iran would go to war if they close. That's our argument for why they would never do it. We'll take a second.
Are we starting?
That was 2 seconds. Okay. What's up? What do you mean?
No
process. Yeah, we're forfeiting our process.
Oh.
Ready?
Yeah, sure. I thought you meant flex time.
Oh.
I was like, no, get out of here.
Wait, so I'm just giving a speech or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, can I have a stand?
Oh.
Okay, second more prep.
Okay.
10 seconds. I'm sending. The doc has been sent. The order is going to be the Concom counterplan, the sovereign immunity counterplan, the advantage counterplan, the gene editing dissad, the K, the permitting reform dissad, the automation dissad, then the case. The second advantage, right?
Yeah, you're gonna need to do that again for everybody though.
Probably.
Oh.
Concom, sovereign immunity, the advantage counterplan, gene editing dissad, the K.
Give Callahan 2 seconds.
Sorry.
He's drowning over there.
Concom, sovereign immunity, advantage counterplan.
Gene editing dissad,
Yes.
the K.
Yes.
The permitting reform dissad,
Yes.
the automation dissad, then the second advantage.
Perfect.
Okay. Is anybody not ready? Cool. Concede the perm just to test the competition for all their cross applications and no other counterplan to the sovereign immunity counterplan. Concede the perm just to test the competition. There was no theory anywhere. The advantage counterplan did concede the perm just to test the competition. The gene editing decided concede there's no impact. The K concede the perm just to test the competition. But this salts are warming impact of their term. There is evidence decoupling and capsid chemical salt warming doesn't, which salts their terminal impact doesn't show all for a short term scenario. They decide which race minerals exist, but the US can be shot by Russian China's causes. Award the decide. Permitting form cells of increasing access to mineral inputs, particularly portable period distinctions, global stability, materials from the US China war, or rare earth minerals, independently salts increase, green tech, which helps in essential climate change. That's urban and China war. I'm not going to read that. That transmits isolated white salts China war and effective permitting cells, global war, bad rate, 22 version of the United States, America's genes critical and global stability, underscore the strategic value of national security, and overall allies of America's about the office of public against more security, which stability, more people, while how this will, that's a bit of progress, not aggression, factories like Russia, US, reverse the new pipeline, perfect, possibly capital, critical, energy, infrastructure, media, it turns the apple, makes oil shots and everything in apple because it countries will definitely run out of it when Russia and China can cut them off, especially when the US is cut off too. It makes China more not rely already isolated above. It makes foreign action when they see the US look weak, they'll be able to smuggle nuclear weapons and when the military is down to C1 PC smuggle 1 cent when is not less left with people to get the bill passed when it's the test work the opposed religiously vulnerable democratic senators get them to agree to a proposal to one of Biden's top priorities and he's committed to getting past 2 AFF items abroad She's been real permitting in place. 2C3, the plan definitely drew rails permitting from the 2C was a generic military spot without a word on the AR rights. Special 1 PC, Congress finds any expansion legal or arson HUD. It's a question. It's illegal Pandora's box that doesn't say combined in the plan area. They won't touch unless their hand is forced. We can bind it. Has to spend critical PC getting through. That's one C0. 2, even if the plan is popular during PC small issues need to get resolved, like how the plan would be passed. Biden has to roll those through 2 for yes, impact the energy security. When price volatility doesn't take it out, it's about China, Russia being able to cut us off, not consumers, which all their evidence about. It's about military stability. True, the U.S. can be independent, would be able to produce minerals by itself, which we will be isolated internally toward 3. This says that risk will decrease once the U.S. diversifies reliance, and not that it's the status quo, which concedes it's relying on a rising. There is no emphasis that will diversify right now. 2 see the 5 and 6, the turn I'm going to be the word out is bad, and the part they isolated to solve, and the only part they've isolated to solve warming says climate demands are set, but nothing with question why it's sufficient to solve warming. The 2 transmission infrastructure actions in our incentives solve our next 22 the most greater than the rapid expansion renewable energy to combat climate change, competitive and interesting transmission product needed to achieve project on the commission, interesting rate from new line lines to take a decade to Washington back with our area incentive. LNG experts studies putting through the U.S. LNG sales are to the like cycle mission reported Europe and Asia, and 2 from there competing with new products which is global emissions leads to emission incumbents faster products like the improved emission output that LNG exports the largest beneficiaries, and it also leads to CCS and also to one of the delays in working for leases wider permitting for local priority steps to ensure red tip does not impede critical infrastructure, but especially use strengthened additional to address climate change, wind and carbon sequestration. Automation is done.
Oh wait, do you want that quotes thing?
Yes. Concede automation high now means automation good stuff is inevitable process whereas the way the plan unions contributes to concede deals on it is the plan is not but doesn't politics because it's not a bit in progress. Answer the cross application. The plan has to be Congress one. This would be a new one. Our argument we see no longer argue because the plan is not controversial. Not that they were the courts criminal courts are unique. Even if Article 3 courts shield as specified there were multiple courts which operate under the jurisdiction of Congress lawmakers would receive heat for lobbying an agent. They're responsible for best in person military. 3. Their argument is that it's the executive by which receive the heat for one of his administrative members, which is all we need the mind's advantage. Mutual checkmating prevents contract 15 to WordPress for cost pressure to economically dependent over resistance that fails to go to more cost effective nation will take the regional order and remain resilient. Where bits of mutual checkmating helping deep state external intent to let the power plants with not the power plants and state outrights and increasing carbon change hard for the power to sweep the work by blocks and rest of managers conflicts direct and settle preventing victory put prices will cause war. Their studies will like that data stretch findings to be hypothesis that's remarks to 08 price prove there's no impact. They also drop that climate change makes all of this inevitable as well as things like 8.7 people countries decrease cost of labor over 15 food price public schools negatively associated with the social service and funding will get the rhetoric surrounding food prices and results in a kid also major increase variety of the finding line with the fine right for economics literature. Iran has no incentive to close this rate last 15 despite funds for it to close this rate in capital. Iranian officials said Iran has no intention of obstructing the state. Iran has no desire to let him with US and straight get out of control to say no. One wants to show its force not be able to look for Russell as it doesn't have a big will protect goals. That's fine, I have 6 seconds.
So the first and third card on advantage 2 were in the 2 and C.
Okay. Is there anything else that
There was a Bellarmine card that is now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for that.
Jesus, I just pasted the card into the email like recipients. So let's retry that.
I feel I'm sorry you're all stressed out. I feel really bad breaking it. I'm sorry.
What?
Are you
You're
serious?
fine.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, it's okay.
Dude. Okay. Apology accepted. What do you have to say to that?
Okay. We have 638.
What do you want? Okay.
36.
I really have to switch, so I'm gonna go do that while you're all setting up.
That one's closed.
Do I have to go downstairs?
Also, so I don't stretch it out later.
Is the women's restroom also closed?
I'm gonna assume no, there's no.
Just the first one.
Okay, so just need
I don't want to be the only one here with the judges. 100%. Warship's advantage. Mine's advantage. Key conditions, politics.
It's fine.
Okay, warship's advantage. Mine's advantage. Key. The counterplan, and then politics. Okay.
I just have to download it.
Okay. Everyone good?
Nuclear terrorism causes extinction. Warships cannot deter nonsense. Actors attribution causes escalation. That's a hate evidence. Yes, they have intention. 1AC hate evidence. They're building nuclear facility material now. Their argument is impact uniqueness. They finance themselves through the absence of U.S. autonomous ships. Yes, by her same explanation above, dropping controlling that. Financing enables them to cooperate with other international actors to build bioweapons. The low probability should still always because of high risk of the magnitude impact. I'll concede no impact. Yes, for because of trade and interdependence. Next argument, no evidence for us. Yes, there are ships now, but the app gives them belligerent rights, which integrates them into a naval strategy. Other stuff about us not being able to see ships is relevant. Not contextualizing the case or evidence for it. Drop the perception of deterrence is sufficient to solve global war. The mine's advantage. Iran will close the Strait of Hormuz with mines, that's which causes U.S. retaliation. AI ships deter. That's Wasabi. 20 extension assumes old Iranian leaders. The parliament now says they have intent to close, etc. Will drop oil volatility costs more. Petrostates succumb to domestic instability at diversion topic. That's possible. Proves they solve the energy independence theory at least a little bit on the policy. Not going for the crude data. The impact proves that when countries do not have energy resource or other resources, they would dry mer, which means it does not matter. T. Starting the limits every no limits. In fact, there are a limited number of solvency advocates for any person, generous or high quality, which will be explained when answering that ground. But even the smallest apps are going from it. It's the reason why no one is reading an animal's app on the topic. Any comment to win will be asked on the case that their information may be less limiting, but they are predictable, which allows the nature prep to beat them while pursuing app innovation. The 2-hour ethos relies on the cult of limits. Next is Tracy predictability. It is good. Their evidence is in context of some random court case. Yes, ours is too, but our argument is at least that we agree that community don't shape consensus and that this integration would be untenable with turn sake offense. It's impossible for their topic and incentivize students to create an arbitrary threshold for team which ruins off ground. All the tweets definitions say like things like in the etc. Allow for subtext which demonstrates that we are not necessarily imprecise. Authority is off ground and outweighs because of literature snake bias. Apps must be drastic changes, which means that they overlimit the topic, and an overlimiting is a death knell for app team. Their interpretation of being one category of the topic compounds negative advantages of the blog, resulting in unbeatable next sites doing bad debates and rex education. A few broad apps get CL lack nuance, apps under the lack of the apps under the counter-information lack nuance and hinder argument innovation. They drop unbeatable picks in the Twincy. Every limits argument becomes a pick, which is worse because the NEG at least gets generic. So Twincy was only 2 minutes, so you should reject all new 2-minute arguments. Ground loss arguments, no ground loss, absolute huge results in every D imaginable. For business, legal, economic perspectives, other key arguments, politics, check, picks, advantage, and process companies. The case are all cracked. The net ground offense is inevitable. Being NEG has and then always never been easier because you can reread appendix, etc. Absolute huge done above. Last argument, default traceability, our counter provision of all the words prove that subsets should be allowed for seasonal sustainable. Good debates about to be superior form of competing interpretations with background and predictability, reasonability. It's a middle ground and versus next to for the benefits of our counter provision voting neck for a marginally small topic conservation bomb, causing the most limiting nitpicky obscure definitions, which endorse the proliferation of bad G debates. It's not arbitrary, merely requires the next to disprove offense, which is impact framing. It does not require judge intervention either. They didn't say that either, but even if they did, in the 2-hour, it's inevitable. You have to determine who won any offense anyway. This happens through subjective interpretations of their bad evidence, and then resolving arguments reasonability merely shifts the burden for the neck, which was explained about good conditions combined. First permutation to the combined information is that the plan is not certain necessarily that the plan is certain and immediate for GAs but not counterplans. That's why for no other definition matters because certain is a precursor which modifies every written resolution. But that means a counterplan does not compete textually or functionally, requiring both textual and functional combinations. That's education. In fairness, that way our information filters out the worst counterplans, whereas case-specific research, certainty-based counterplans are bad. It justifies conditions to the list of unbeatable ones. A, do the plan if it's a good idea. B, do the plan if the sun rises tomorrow. NEG has an attempt to win. So hold their information to extreme counterplans at a high threshold to use fairness because the outputs of immediacy is bad justifies late. Do the plan after the midterms or do the plan after 1 hour. These counterplans have zero deficit skew fairness do not disprove the plan. They don't don't have any offense rating. The net benefit as a DA solves in our provision just raises the threshold for a competitive pipeline. The card vests particular rights does not mean all Western countries. To grant a particular right, a legal right, it's not a right that can be denied. Say for 27. This course is a fine legal right, a right that cannot be legal force, cannot be denied or interfered with. Vesting is not sort of immediate. James said, that's just given Ludwig some of the right future government decisions that future corporation is given the fixed right. But this is frequently after competed obligations of the plan is contingent, thus a future right is vested. Drop the intrinsic permutation that the plan promote, do the plan and promote the rights in the interest of human beings. Texas in the dog, it solves that benefit because it promotes good regulations. Drop that it solves, it didn't explain why it is intrinsic. Second permutation also solves it does the plan and creates an AFF which is on the plan limited intrinsicness. It's good. What eliminates contributory contrived net benefits, not germane to the plan, they are artificially obviously disrupting cost of two is technically legitimate, which means that the premise of the consequence of Cortex 23 garbage process is not desirable recycled. It's recycling between copies being makes it too easy theories. It's not just like combination. There are exclusive arguments. Contingent combines are bad because they right after they don't have a solved champion. That says the plan needs to review new after not justify theories. We're defending a reason why the conference bad idea. Go up to the 20 conference permutation to both, and it links to politics because it has Biden. They've made the argument that Biden is only focused on environmental review, so it will lead to cause some capital, and they've reviewed link arguments in the one or all concede that person is very controversial, which means the capital links to that benefit. They made the arguments to make it you, and the 2NC card about 2NC more comments says the commission exists in the status quo will concede it says that lost for public input, which means they would say no. And AGS should impact Tracy said scientifically impossible. Politics. No China impact, no warming impact. It was done in the one and all. We saw the Russian impact that was on the case of Russia invasion of Baltic 18 when the Russians enforced protecting important interests on this. In the case of the Baltics, such an significant case of Russia's foreign policy difficult to match the reason that Portuguese enough to really force all the right Russian policy required in the Baltics and will recently be concerned there's no interest in risking nuclear war and the sphere of Russian control with green first. Exclude these countries, mark the cards, exclude these countries, extend no link. The plan is a military card and has the chief naval officer change the definition of warships as not nuke by species that's primarily from nomination. The plan is not in Congress. It does not recognize because he's good in your person's full impact. The agent is the progress is agent agnostic on purpose. The United States means that America, NEC, DCL concede the card that says that bill causes CCS that causes nuclear. So goes 20. Weaponization no circular conflict involves great hostile power technology, leading great power, remove weaponized weapons of organizations. To this concern, they are inherent political interest for political rising nations being able to reclaim conflicts in emerge between Russia, Argentina, USA, India, Cuba, and could even result in nuclear war.
Say it down.
The down thumper, there's legal personnel for artificial intelligence should stop BC and the banking stuff too. Carlson, this is Tracy evidence and Carlson 317. Biden can be damned if he state banks, or if he doesn't. Another innovation and destroy the great political peril of sudden crisis that pushes administration further to factual that could snap. Repeated assurances that no taxpayer captures will set political vulnerability. Any future use of funds could have Republicans opening lab as a Biden situation. It's so politically that's for Biden because of small political move. Small prudent political move.
What was the last card offering?
It's the Carlson 317.
Got like 146-ish.
That sounds right.
We'll start. Wait.
Yes. Whatever, do it. I don't care. Are you doing also?
Yeah. No. I can do it. I can do it. Conditions counterclaim. Politics TA. Warships. Mines. We good?
Only one area to the internal net benefit is just the argument that no AGI that is not warranted or not carded and not carded. We've got two cards in the 1 and the 2 and C that say that AGI is possible, and the word card is dropped. That causes escalation and resource maximization. That means the eradication of the human species. They drop the bouncer card as well, which means it turns case. It collapses everything necessary to solve any of the AFF, which means that the U.S. would never be able to deploy UMPs because artificial intelligence makes it impossible for us to deploy any of that. The bouncer specifically says military and economic interdependence goes away, which triggers every single scenario that the one who has said. If we win the permutation to the counterplay debate, it means that you 100% vote negative, and if we don't, it means you kick it, and the internal net benefit is absolutely still a dissent to the plan. They did not answer it. They did not make an argument that it is not an independent dissent. The plan has the possibility of causing a large number of lives to be lost, existential threats outweigh, and there's no going back, which means that it's try or die for the negative. Now, the permutation to the counterplay, they've not answered most of our standards. All of the arguments that were in the 2 and C are dropped. Their definitions destroy net ground. They make it impossible because the immediate, durable, uncertainty, delay, consult conditions, and recommend all become AF ground. The argument about should is the only way they have out of it, but if we beat that argument, then it means that AFs have the ability to do everything that they've said being negative is impossible to do. It means that the AF can generate offense that's entirely unpredictable. It flips everything and makes being negative impossible, which destroys debate, collapses fairness, and turns all of their impact. The argument that plan can be certain and immediate for DAs but not counterplans is arbitrary. The card they read in the 2AC just says that for exceptional cases, it could be the case. There's no reason why being normal means versus competition would be an exceptional case. They've not drawn that distinction. The court did not intend for that to be the type of argument that is being deployed. The textual or functional competition argument, we argue that counterplanes only have to be one. The was textually competitive because it says grant instead of vest in the 1 and 2 text, and it's functionally competitive because of all our definition of vest. It absolutely must be certain. It is a mere expectancy. They've conceded all of our arguments and not indicted a single one. The Caretha evidence, the dictionary of law evidence, and all of the rest, and the forum evidence all say that a vest is not that a right is not vested until it is received by the person, and the 2 and can cross apply the argument from T subsets that vest in means that the person has to receive the duty. The counterplane creates the possibility of AI not receiving that duty, which means it is a pick out of the certainty involved and contingent invest. The counterplane is contingent rights, i.e., they are not vested until the commission decides that it is a good idea for it to do so, which at least means that it has an element of delay, which is something that the AF cannot be. The certainty counterplane's bad arguments. All of their worst case scenarios don't have the benefits. If the sun rises, counterplane is obviously not something you can be ready to debate. All of our arguments about why testing the specific processes of apps are good is an answer to this. If we have a germane dissent to vesting rights and a competitive counterplane, then we should obviously win. The immediacy bad arguments are wrong. Yes, you can have you can obviously have an answer to the delay counterplan. If you have something that has to be solved in the status quo, they could have made a delay argument here because there's at least a little bit of a process that has to occur before it happens, but that doesn't mean that you can't cut our offense. It just means you need to write a better app. The net benefit SDA's argument does not solve when we're reading when there's not uniqueness. Obviously, this topic is impossible to garner dissents from, and lots of 1 and Cs don't even have DAs that can be tenable without the counterplane. It also is supercharged by the fact that they no linked out of every single topic-specific DA by saying that they were only a specific instance of personhood in a separated court. The best does not equal all. It's not something that we need to win, but cannot be denied. It's an argument that they made, and it's a competition argument for us. We will concede the argument that vested rights cannot be denied. The counterplane provides the possibility of the right being denied if the board decides that it is not good for humanity. The certainty and immediacy stuff, good arguments are all above, but there's an additional argument, which is that if all the theory arguments are reasons why permutation to the counterplane is good, if something is good for education, it should be in debates. It should be competitive as well. That was an argument that was preempted in the 2 and C and not answered in the 1AR, which means that you ought to vote negative on this. Now, the intrinsic permutation, the regulatory process solidification arguments are answers to both the permutations. The argument that it just fiats the tribunal does not solidify the process because it does not do anything to have the process
process in place. It also means that the plan could cause political fights or the internal net benefit, which is not a shielding argument. The second is that it solves AI because it says that the review board should do it. That does not solve the regulatory process either. We are not going for any of the intrinsicness arguments as theoretical reasons, but rather just as solvency deficits because they don't shield any of the arguments that we're making about the net benefits. Now, the amendment to the 2NC counterplan, we will kick it. It means that because they didn't go for the turn, which no length solves their arguments and gets us out of the permutation, the public input argument means say no is not a real argument. They haven't made this in the 2AC, and we read a solvency advocate, and the 1NC is a new argument rejected. This is a new AF, and I have to protect myself from any possible winning our pivots. It would be impossible for us to debate if that was the standard for F argumentation, but either way, the public would say yes because military is broadly political. If presented in the way that the AFT is and the right that the AFT is a good idea, then obviously the public would say yes as well. They would default to the military. They would default to the military, and it would be fine. Politics. Yes, Russia war. There's no impact. Yes, Russia war. There's no impact. There's no impact defense that's specific to our scenario, which is that energy dependency allows them to manipulate us in every context. All of their impact defense assumes that we are energy independent, which is not the case post failure to pass the Herming reform bill. The DIO's argument, it doesn't thump. It's not a bill in Congress that was explicit in the 1R. It can't trade off with PC, the bank stuff. Reading a new card without answering a single 1R argument is stupid, and you should hold the line on two areas here. One, they dropped the Biden has enough PC right now, dropped our evidence that markers are willing to work with Biden despite the issue. All their evidence is rhetorical, and it would cause people to be mad at Congress. Nothing connecting it to long embrace the bill's Congress or willingness to negotiate. The CCS card is bad. The campaign that it dropped when it solves warming and that it sets essential warming causes extinction burning. The plan means act class resource for social acidification makes us all starve. Either way, the card is bad. It has no specific scenario for escalation. It's probably about climate technology, which means current tech comes to distinctions that we agree in the CCS. Yes, length, the military tribunal states conceded that there are Article 1 courts, which means that they are responsibilities of Congress. Congress would fight, would obviously receive heat if their responsibility did something that was politically controversial.
336.
is the warship's advantage, the mine's advantage, the counterplan, the disadvantage.
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, the warship's advantage, the mine's advantage, the counterplan, the disadvantage.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll do politics before the counterplans. After.
Worship's mind politics.
Counterplan politics.
Wait, where's that?
The counterplan, then the dissent.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cat case coming back?
I don't know why I heard that.
Go ahead.
Drop the terrorism causes extinction. A vast network of AI vessels is needed to deter nefarious high-stakes activity. Non-state actors use the ocean to transfer WMDs and generate revenue via drug techniques or mirrors evidence that allows for terrorist networks to flourish, exposing society to bioterrorism and dirty bombs. Attributionary means states independent state causing a broader conflict that states it outweighs Russian war, turns it because they're attributionary and they don't have any defense there, which means certainly outweighs the case. Any risk of a deficit, the review board saying no to the plan means it outweighs, and it outweighs this reason about after the counterplan might not solve it. The conditions counterplan, the first permutation is the intrinsic permutation that does the plan. It establishes a review board. It solves the net benefit because it creates a new regulatory board to prevent bad emerging tech. They conceded it's theoretically legitimate. It doesn't matter if the review board approves the plan because there will be future purchase of AI person demonstrated by the Dow sum between the review board will inevitably be able to develop new regulations. It solves the net benefit and prevents AGI from becoming an existential. Their one and see evidence is the board could weed out bad artificial intelligence and develop new regulations which solves the net benefit. Only risk of the CCS offense on the dissent or the case outweighing the internal benefit. That all their permutation also solves because they would just have the U.S. develop new regulations to effectively develop new regulations to solve rogue AGI. The net benefit at the top case outweighs the net benefit. AGI is thousands of years off, which means you should prioritize preventing terrorism. It comes now, plus extinction turns. This obviously outweighs because we have evidence that AGI is scientifically impossible. Their evidence is at best theoretical. Says that it would take hundreds of thousands, maybe even thousands of years for AGI to become possible. Permutation due to the counterplan. We're certainly winning all of our offense about certainty. Counterplans being bad. Our interpretation is it should is certain for counterplans, but not disadvantages. And interesting, at all of their ground things as important in the 2R. That's the Piper evidence. It means that the counterplan is not functionally competitive. Our interpretation is best debatability and research outweigh any ground offense they can go for. Their interpretation is extremely bad for debate and screws the affirmative. First, certainty-based counterplans, just like conditions and consult, which do not have deficits because they can be written to be nearly certain in the way that this counterplan is written to be nearly certain because they don't have a card. This is the review over the plan is necessary. Do the plan if it's a good idea, and do the plan if the sun rises tomorrow are both competitive under their interpretation. Have no answer because they have nothing to do with the plan. They said that each of these has no net benefit, but both of these counterplans could have contrived net benefits about the uncertainty of extinction happening before the sun rises tomorrow, or the importance of passing a bill now, not tomorrow. Those are all things that next will do because they will run to the margins, create the most cheating counterplans to weed out the affirmative. Our offense outweighs the impact as fairness and research they force. They have to go for theory which trades off the substance. Process research is boring, leads to burnout, and often does not disprove the desirability of the plan. Next, have an incentive to means that cheating counterplans will be written if their model allows them. Do not allow the 2R argument says that if the counterplan is theoretically legitimate, that means it's not competitive. These are two distinct issues. It's a question of the text and function of the counterplan, which is distinct from whether conditions counterplans in and of themselves are valuable because the conditions counterplan could technically be written to be both functionally and textually competitive, but this one is not. They said it's arbitrary. It's outweighed by our offense, but we are not arbitrary. The plan is certain and immediate against the status quo, but it is good to jettison those assumptions for the purpose of excluding unfair counterplans via permutations. The introduction of a contrived counterplan flips initial assumptions about the inertia of fiat, which is good because otherwise the AFF is critically disadvantaged. All of the other interpretations, they do not matter because they have conceded a 1AR framing argument that should. This comes before the rest of the resolution, so it shapes the uncertainty of the rest of it. Even if best is certain, the uncertainty of should means an uncertain certainty is still uncertainly conceded. Although Webster interpretation says that best does not mean also the Afghan invest specific rights. They conceded that James evidence says that best. The process of vesting is not certain, even if the result of the plan would be a certain right inevitably. This means the process of passing the plan results in a certain vesting of rights. Same thing with the counterplans. The counterplan also has vest textual and functional competition. They are good. You should reject just allowing textual competition. It creates the best debates and allows for developing the best offense for both the AFF and the NEG. The AFF is forced to craft a nuanced defense of the plan and advantages while establishing a fair bar for what constitutes an opportunity cost. The NEG is incentivized to do their homework and locate relevant literature-based counterplays, enhancing the educational value of the absent element of NEG competition debate is inverted too far. The next favor in-depth contestation over resolutional questions questions creates the best education, but that value is evacuated and the NEG no longer has to debate the product of the case because of non-literature-based process characters. The way competition through offense, even their interpretation does not solve our best offense, but ours does have room to their offense because they still get their DAs because of certainty on this. Has any risk that they artificially constrain half crown is a reason to vote affirmative. We might marginally reduce the NEG crown, but that's relative given the NEG has more than enough tools in the arsenal to beat the AFF, including conditionality, nearest person spillover, T and impact turns. There's no unique need for this genre of counterpoint features protected in whole textual alone. It means the worst genre of NEG counterpoints auto compete. The NEG would be the arsenal of word picks, replacing should with ought, and substantially with significantly they can replace any or all of the plan's words with synonyms or abbreviations, or even read the plan in Spanish or Mandarin. That by itself is insufficient for competition because the judge has no idea whether these substitutions change the meaning of the plan as to the definition of the word, which is beyond the scope of the plan text. Go to the quality. Any risk of offense that way, the NEG does not have a cogent impact. The 1AR conceded no warming impact, and the 1AR conceded the 2NC impact. The interdependence caps any chance of Chinese war. The only external impact they have is Russia. Their evidence in the 1AR is so bad, it doesn't say nuclear war would necessarily occur, and the plan solves it via deterrence and energy dependence for oil. No Russia war. 1AR evidence is that if Russia won't invade anywhere, starts worse, and their authors are wrong. The Kremlin have little interest in pursuing a war because it would ruin the Russian sphere of influence. It's 1AR restocks. They cites multiple senior researchers who study strategy and military activities. The 1AR read a card that said the bill was key to CCS. No takebacks. This 2AR defense is nonsense and cowardice because they are making defense their own scenario. We will concede the bill is key and the plan trades off. 1AR so calls the newest evidence is that deploying CCS case miscalculation because it causes misperception of weaponization. It makes states feel vulnerable because they believe that countries have intent to deploy. That miscalculation causes great power wars with the same effect as weaponized deployment, even without intent. The 2AR is way too globally. Our turn is a climate impact is about nuclear war. Next, climate tech doesn't thump. No evidence is that CCS now there. The one says that the bill is key to uniquely increasing CCS. Again, scratch this defense. And the last defense for arguments is that no specific scenario. It's all great power wars which are possible. You know that CCS immediately causes war, so it's try or die off. This impact turns the counterplan all happens immediately for AI.
If you're confused, just vote AFF because we have straight turn the disad, so the CCS is bad, causes war, which is a net benefit to the counterplan. We were winning all of our competition's arguments on the counterplan, which means you can just make that go away. We won the textual competition alone is super bad, and our model is best for debate.
Neg doc sent. The message was USC.
I've heard about consent.
Yeah. This is mine. This is yours. Sorry. Soy sauce.
You want one of them?
That's too much for one person. Do you want to take this? Do you want me to like dress it with it?
We also have another packet.
Here. Yeah, spit it.
Huh?
Must have been late, right? Weird. Yeah.
Was it so good? Oh, I have no clue. I definitely.
It's a really bad percent though. It's really good. Yeah, like it's right. Dude, yeah, I want this every single preparing for your. I think Kansas is right outside. Like Jet is at least around the corner in the main area. Well, we got a plastic.
You got the summons?
Yep.
I like the summons. It's a good addition.
Was it not around earlier?
No, it's I think my last year of college maybe was the first time.
Here.
So is the entire Kansas team.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Does anybody object to me sending it? I was the last one in because I'm slow. Congratulations to both teams. Great debate. Congrats on the NDT. It's a 3-0 for the AFF from Kansas.
So I think I put it at the end. It's in perm. I think that doing the plan and then regulating AI by a review board probably solves the net benefit. I think that perm to me means do the plan and then do the review, like for the future of humanity stuff on like other instances of AI that pop up in the future. And again, that's just what I understood that as. It's entirely possible I'm off base, maybe it was like a random review board or something, but just like from what I heard, like that was my understanding of it coming through and then coming into the like 1 AR and 2 AR, so I thought that made sense to me. So I think if that's the case, and then if it's true that it's doing the counterclaim load install, I would think like doing it on other areas would have a similar effect. There is a possibility that it's like doing it, like not doing it on one area would like mess up the process or something, but it kind of seems like if that is the case, then the counterclaim alone is kind of feel like the firm double line and they have case, and there's lots of other things that can happen. It seems like this really should be enough if it comes up. And I think that this is probably enough for me to get it down to like if it's close enough to 0, like I'm okay with it. But if not, anything like the CCS stuff is probably up there like a small AI thing, just because it is. I don't know. It's like I think there was a lot of answer in the 2NR, and then I thought that was a bit larger. So after I thought about that, I picked the counterclaim because you told me to, and you also said the net benefit was a disad, which they didn't say anything against. So I said the net benefit was a disad. I think the problem was just like nuclear and bioscale and other things can be really fast. So I have to have some like uncertainty about whether or not we can get through that to be able to get there. But yeah, I didn't think about that. But I mean, yeah, it seems like that. Yeah, that was what I thought. I think the biggest, it does seem to put line was possibly while facing a firm thing, but I thought it was to solve just about everything.
Just a quick clarification, you concluded CCX outweighs both AI and Russia war?
Oh, I didn't think a whole lot about that. I thought the perm made it down close enough to 0. I think the CCS stuff would be, like, my thought was, like, they've got some defense, they've said some, like, deterrence and other things can contain Russia, and then you have said, like, you said something, I don't have my flow, and your answer to CCS was it's not going to cause war, and, like, it seemed like they made an argument, and it seemed kind of different. But, yeah.
I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Another way to the top. I think I was AFM from the counterplan, not as much on intrinsic firm. I think there's going to be some different decisions here. I think part of that is just like everybody went for way too much. Nobody has impacted anything. It's a total mess. And so like on both sides. So if there's some differences here, I think that's part of the reason why. I think the AFF is slightly ahead with respect to the impact on, this is also the permanent counterplan theory stuff. I think the AFF is slightly ahead on sort of like in-depth debating, just like this counterplan is bad. Which is an impact to their interpretations or a net benefit to their interpretations of the words. I'm slightly more persuaded by the case that debate is best when negatives have to sort of engage the 1AC and do their homework. Obviously, the fact that the app is new complicates this, but I think the app is still broadly on the right side of this issue. I sort of struggle with the app's counter interpretation that certainty and immediacy are true for disabs but not counterplans. I think this is kind of the worst version of this argument. It feels quite arbitrary, and you indeed sort of point out that arbitrariness, but that never develops into like a separate theme where the impact of arbitrariness is never discussed. The 2AR is pretty good on why the sort of introduction of this, like there's a moment in the 2AR where like the introduction of this counterplan flips how we should think about certainty and immediacy. Like where we may have had one presumption coming out of the 1AC, the introduction of this counterplan means we should think differently about what certainty and immediacy mean. The results of, which still implies that if like you just went for a disab, the app could not be like, well, the app happened in 5 years. The results is that a lot of the NEG's offense of how the app could no longer be immediate is sort of solved by this counter interpretation, but it sort of has the quote unquote net benefit of avoiding the introduction of some of these sort of caricature conditions counterclaims. In terms of the actual definitions, I could kind of go either way. The NEG cards that vested rights are absolute is good, while the app at least has at least one card that the process of vesting such absolute rights can be sort of contingent or uncertain. The tiebreaker for this is maybe this like very silly should argument that like you can have a certain thing, but if the like verb should is uncertain, then you can imagine how the counterplan is a real, like, sort of a realization of the plan. Intrinsic term, I kind of think the app doesn't really answer the 2NR here, so I kind of like you just didn't answer the argument. I didn't think you really answered the argument that sort of like solidifying the process in sort of one case is really important. The sort of vague establishment of the condition does not fit where the needs to be done, which is sort of apply to a specific case. I think I might be reading into the 2NR a little bit there, but I think you do need to like really speak to the 2NR argument a little bit more. I will say I'm very sympathetic to this permutation generally, but I think there wasn't a clash in the 2AR in this context. I also think the 2AR went too much. You have to just pick up. I'm happy to like kick the counterplan and treat it as a separate DA, I guess. I do think the app wins the CCS impact turn. The card, like the 2NR is like card's bad, card's not bad. The card is like weirdly very good. It's probably all fake, like, but the 2NR is like there's no scenario for war and the card's bad, and like no, the card's good and it says it causes Arctic war, which like I have no idea how, but the threshold of like card being good and having a scenario for conflict is definitely met. It includes Russia, which probably flips the Russia thing. App has like a couple lines of impact defense to the Russia thing. Terrorism impact, big, quick. AGI impact, like maybe real but very long term, which I think the 2AR is okay on. But again, like kind of a mess on both sides, so I'm doing my best to kind of sort this out. I'm happy to chat about the details. Please do not concede, waive June's innocence. That was a very bad move by you all because it makes you look like idiots.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to both. I tap on intrinsic term. Jinar says like this doesn't be out the process of the counterplan, but I'm honestly like missing an internal explanation for why the process of the counterplan accesses the net benefit in a meaningful way, or what the implication of the internal fights that this term creates. I'm not entirely sure I can really explain that. I also think like the CCS turn outweighs just because there's like more of an explanation by the app versus like more of a shallow explanation on the Russia and the AI terminal level by the NEG. And counterplan theory stuff was like pretty difficult to resolve since there's lots of different moving pieces. I thought like the NEG had some in-round abuse claims, and I think it's ahead on the necessity of these types of counterplans on this topic, given the lack of stable NEG ground. But I don't really think that grapples with the model that app has sort of more generally. I think like the app has one that there often outweighs in terms of debatability for the app. So I need more work on the NEG on why NEG ground outweighs app debatability. And I think generally both sides would benefit greatly from contextualizing their offense to the NDT and like why having these counterplans or removing them benefits each side of the NDT. And I think like that could be a tiebreaker. But yeah.
I think you should take a policy action.
Okay,
At least my take is like, gotta go for one or the other.
here's my thinking. And this has a little bit to do with what I wanted to ask you, which is just like, I was under the impression that the best answer to the intrinsic perm is just that it still is politics. Like, I mean, yeah, like it is an answer at least. I guess I'm just a little bit confused on how you resolved the intrinsic perm shielding the link to politics.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I don't think, it doesn't shield the link to politics, it was more on the, just like on the disad by itself, like they made gestures that saying like deterrence can contain Russia, and like the announcement you made much of a gesture to like CCS and like more just like the time wasn't really there, explanation wasn't really there. But yeah, that makes sense, maybe we go for it, but I think it would be better to like say inconvenience is bad, it's like they can't do it.
Okay.
And just go for the internal benefit.
Yeah, the thing I'm worried about is just like what Callahan said, which is just like, I think a lot of judges are very sympathetic to these sorts of intrinsic permutations on a theoretical level. So having non-theory reasons seemed like the best way to go, but I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
In that case, maybe don't go for the internal. I kind of just think the 2 are so big.
The 2
are just so big, I kind of think it's adjusting something, and so maybe you just go for like, fuck this AGI thing. We have problems today. And that at least gets you 30 seconds or 45 seconds back.
Yeah, and then did you all conclude wanting our definitively conceded warming defense?
I have no idea what's happening in that context.
Okay, because like the CCS solves warming and warming causes extinction stuff was like an external impact in the 2NR. I didn't hear anything about it in the RFDs. It was aligned with,
It's just like,
yes,
this is
I
like
got lost in the sauce on that.
development.
late developed, lost in the sauce.
Yeah, there's way too much going on both in 2NR and the 2AR.
Okay.
Like for that to be a meaningful like part of the RFD in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, the decisions make a lot of sense to me. A lot of these debates go AF anyway, but I get it. Kansas, you got questions?
I just had a question for Callahan. What do you think is a better interpretation for like certainty and immediacy besides this like this head counterpoint thing?
I mean, I think my preference is just, I think there's 2 different ways or a couple different ways you can do it that are at least more in accordance with my thinking. Number one is sort of like mandates versus non-mandates thing. Like there are things that are in the plain text and then things that are not in the plain text. Obviously that like raises the question of the definitions. Like if should is immediate, then that immediacy is in the plan, right? But you can counter define that. You can say that we should not sort of read certainty and immediacy into the plan. There are things that are reasonable to assume would be part of the implementation of the plan. It's reasonable to assume given the implementation of the plan would happen immediately. The introduction of the counter plan, I sort of get to the same place, which is the introduction of the counter plan can change that calculus. You can think of the counter plan as potentially being different than the plan, but in a way that is not about the mandates of the plan.
So your criticism of the interpretation was that it's super arbitrary, which I agree. How do you think this resolves that criticism better?
Like there are things that are in the plan, there are things that are not in the plan. And that's the plain text is what defines what the mandate. The plain text and the AFF's interpretation of the plain text defines the scope of the mandates of the plan. And there are things that are mandates of the plan, which are legitimate sources of net competition, and there's everything else. The other way to say this that I think is also fair is that the permutation, the topic of immediacy was not raised by the 1AC. The negative, or I guess it's really certainty in this case, the negative has raised the issue of an uncertain process. You can permute in the uncertainty of the counterclaim. Right? They've added the question of uncertainty, which was not spoken to by the 1AC. So the permutation is plain plus, because the uncertainty is a topic, is an issue that was introduced by the counterclaim.
You consider that that's plain minus.
So it's tough here because I end up deciding this debate on the sort of like theoretical question of is this counterclaim good or not? And what I'm saying all ends up coming back to the question of just like, should we be debating this? Yeah. And so there's not a real way around that issue as an impact to any of these theory arguments. And so it's kind of just if you with that, kind of everything else. And so I don't really, like the details of the interpretation don't concern me as much. But I do think that like the fact that Griffith wrote an entire academic article motivated by the fact that like true for disad but not counterclaims is like obviously insane is like, I'm with that.
Oh, sorry. I had a question. Better, like, what arguments should be prioritized in the 2AR? Because I know, like, there's kind of decisions that are more focused on the intrinsic firm or on the premier of the counterclaim, which is why, like, I felt like the 2AR was a lot of chaos, but was needed because there were, like, a lot of different ways to resolve this debate. And I want to make sure I touched on every single one. Do you think like it would have been better just to like axe the case debate, just do like the straight turn on the DA and the perms?
Yeah, like on the case you're extending like risk of deficit to saying no outweighs back to the terror
Yeah.
impact, but like you never explained why they would say no.
Right. Yeah.
So like that part of the 2A wasn't very strategic, in my opinion. And I think like you could save time there by just like further developing the CCS term, like explaining the scenario for escalation and like why it outweighs AI and Russia.
So did you all think so? Like our reasoning or our like discussion in prep was just kind of like straight turn politics in the 2R just because it's like the clean way out. Did you think that was the strategic move, or do you think?
Sorry, say it again.
The straight turn on politics in the 2R, was that like? Did you all support that move?
I mean, it's very liberating, but like, that's fine, I guess.
I mean, like you could have been fine just beating like the 7, other 7.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Sweet. Yeah, that's all we've got. Appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, thank you all. Good luck, Emory.
Yeah, you as well.
Yeah, good luck.
Staff. 2-0.
Really?
Did MSB come right? Yeah, nice. Did they go for that like dissent thing? Okay, well that makes sense.
Military federalism?
Yeah.
Wait, that's not what the 2-R was it?
I thought it was the dissent counterclaim. That's what I was told.
I thought it was the drones today.
Oh, okay. Then I was applied to.
I don't know. I listened to like the first minute of the tour.
Oh, okay.
And you said it was the drones.
Well, I don't know what the rest of the tour was.
Oh, okay.
The tuner was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna benefit.
The tuner was talking about drones.
Indeed.
I feel like, I don't know, I'm trying to think like what goes in, you all can bail if you need to.
No, I'm gonna sit here and.
This is a tough one, it's all like, I feel like there's something you can impact her.
Yeah.
My impression would be high food prices good. Maybe.
I was thinking about
Around, I think, like, this one in C, like, it's like totally, I get it, but like, some of these process questions about like, why is the plan Congress, why is the plan, like, any of this stuff, why is the plan still over, like, pretty rough.
Yeah, I know.
For no fault of your own.
You think there's a key argument to be made, or do you think?
Maybe.
You're
I don't know, like, being like this, the only thing that happens is this like one dude in the naval office has to just say that these things are warships.
It seems like
it's C.
it's maybe affects T is what I was thinking. But like we don't have cards for any of this shit.
Yeah, right,
It's not like we could.
I don't know, I think offense in the women's season didn't require like this half being like uphill.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Would-
Yeah,
and so like, Iran will go, high food price is good, high oil price is good,
What about that?
like all of those things I think would be, and like you have Cody sitting here who's ready to vote on any of these things, like. That's the kind of thing I feel like you have, like when we're dealing with an app like this, you kind of just have to pull it forward.
Yeah. General thoughts on counterplan clarify that our response will be escalatory to seizure, like that part of the
Fine.
advantage counterplan.
Fine.
The problem is that the net benefit would obviously have to be spilled.
For politics, yes, but like then you run into the like, why are you doing politics?
Oh yeah, let's sanction Iran and say no to politics.
It's popular, I guess for both, but yeah. I think advantage, I don't know, like analytic advantage counterplan is kind of a mess, but like.
New app, who cares?
It's a new, I don't care, it's a new app, there's like lots of things that we're getting out of prospects that I thought were reasonable, like, I think that impulse is probably used.
Yeah.
You forgot his favorite.
It's never gonna be fun.
You all read a card on Con, which I thought was insane. You also you spent 1 minute, like more than a minute and a half on the cat game.
Yeah.
Which was also
We
insane.
go for cap one.
In front of this panel?
Yeah, no, that was never gonna be the turn on.
I am like a flaming liberal on this panel.
Detector.
Well, we just didn't think the counterplans really solved in the DAs didn't link, so we were worried about process and cap mostly. Just because like if you make it.
You were worried about cap, really?
Well, yeah, because it's like even like if they can impact on the whole one AC.
It's like
Your app also
So you can impact her them.
Yeah, your app is an impact turn. This panel.
Also, like the panel thing is like that matters.
Really,
I thought you were good.
Yeah, you voted us up at the NDT last year.
Dude, I am excellent for the game. But like,
I mean,
are you winning? Are you getting the 3 out that you got this week?
Okay, so we were contemplating trying to get a 2 on cap one.
yeah, I would not be calling me. I would just say.
That was.
I don't know, like yeah,
whatever, cap is like they like a minute 30, there was like 6 cards, like cut it to 3 cards at least. I don't know, it's fine. This was a fun debate. I'm just saying.